Absolutely. And Rashad said exactly what I was thinking. Iron sharpens iron. And, that's been what Jim Harbaugh used to say, and just kind of the general philosophy. And apparently Sharon Moore told Wink Martindale, throw the kitchen sink. Because the best way to grow as an offense is to face, a national championship caliber defense. And that's how they're going to grow and figure it out. So quick reminder that the spring games are coming. So Ohio State will be putting on their show this Saturday, April 13th. And then next Saturday, April 20th on Fox will be the Michigan spring game. So happy that these are finally being broadcast in a national stage where you don't have to find some side stream or some weird way to access it. Everybody's going to be able to see these. Joel Klatt's going to be there. I haven't heard about Gus, but I know Joel Klatt's going to be there. So it's very exciting. Okay.
Gus will be on the sidelines eating popcorn and wearing a Michigan hat or something.
There you go. Just like the basketball. Yeah. I know what you're putting down there. Join our Patreon or Discord. You can talk Wolverines all the time in our Discord chat. On the main channel, you can become a YouTube member for as low as $2.99, and we appreciate that. So let's talk recruiting, and we do have a super chat, so we're going to honor that before we get to my topics. From Moose. So Moose, thank you for taking some time out of what I know is a very difficult time in your life to come by and even give a super chat. So thank you for that. Do we have a shot? This is to TJ, but maybe Ferris might have an idea as well. He is asking about Elijah Menendez from Miami. This is actually a transfer portal, but it's fine. So he's a linebacker. He's a linebacker at Miami. Do we think that he might be an option?
So he's actually a class of 25 prospect out of Miami. He's committed to Miami though. That's the thing about him. So So what's
that's what it is. Okay, got it. I was confused by looking. Yeah.
So what's interesting about Elijah Melendez is typically this type of recruitment is extremely difficult to pull because one, he's from Florida. So that brings a challenge. Two, he's committed to NIL happy Miami. So one that would tell you, okay, so the odds are low here. But apparently there's interest from Brian Jean-Marie and Elijah Melendez. And what's really interesting about this recruitment is it was very warm prior to the coaching change, very warm. Like Michigan was actually the leader for the recruitment. And then after the coaching change, Elijah Melendez decided Miami was the place for him. So Brian Jean-Marie has re-sparked this relationship, and he's actually visiting this weekend, and he's already set his official visit for June. So we're going to get 2 attempts to try and swing him back to us. And from insiders, they are a little optimistic, and not in the sense of getting a commitment, but the fact that this is gaining the traction that it's gaining, it's something to watch. You know, I'm not going to say it's a high probability, but the staff would not waste their time if they didn't feel like there was a door here to walk through. And so I think it's definitely an intriguing recruitment to follow.
Yeah, I'm seeing it's a 3-day trip, Saturday to Monday. That's a long time, and then coming back on June 7th is what's being reported. So, both sides. Why waste the time if this wasn't a high probability thing? You know, potentially a high probability. Recruitment, right? So it's not just window shopping, so to speak.
I will add, though, if there is a concern, it's potentially that Melendez is using this as an NIL negotiation tactic with Miami to raise the price, which is happening around college football, where players are going to other schools for visits to try and raise their value. So, I mean, I guess it's something to be mindful of, but I don't think Michigan – actually, I know this. They cut those types of recruitments off very quickly. So if Michigan does feel like it's potentially that type of recruitment, then they wouldn't pursue it much longer. That's why, if anyone wants to know why Michigan doesn't pursue a player that shows some interest, there's a couple reasons, potentially academically, potentially not a culture fit, but also the whole negotiation, moving chairs is something Michigan doesn't want to play with.
That's a really interesting point, and something we should kind of monitor, where we kind of look at the Michigan type of schools versus the Texas A&M or LSU or whatever, other type of schools that are much more based on, or Miami,
Right.
based on highest bidder kind of thing, right? So,
yeah, definitely.
And so we do. So hopefully that answered as best we can, Moose. We have been talking a little bit in the past about 4-star wide receiver Taz Williams. So I wanted to dive into him a bit. It's always exciting when a 4-star 247 sports composite wide receiver, even though he's 5'11", we do need to find some taller ones. I get that, but still very interesting recruit, and he it still says cool on here, but from reports it does look like he is considering going to Michigan and committing to Michigan for 2025. So I thought I had it queued up, but so this guy, obviously, Michigan is going to need players like this in terms of like this type of impact playability here, being able to go from the X position, and making things happen on the X position, making things happen in the Z position. He gives us the opportunity, regardless of where it is, he gives us the opportunity to, to utilize him in different ways on the offense. So while we're watching this, I mean, TJ, like is that seems pretty positive that a wide receiver at that level is looking into Michigan, even though Michigan has that reputation of being the running back U or the tight end U or the OL U, but no, Taz Williams might be coming.
Yeah, that's right. And a big selling point to a lot of receivers is the Roman Wilson effect. So they see what Roman Wilson did, and they see how high he's projected to be drafted, and they know, and the coaches are also selling, listen, we need a guy. We need a guy that we can build around the offense. We need a guy who's going to get the ball and help push us, they want to be more balanced. They don't just want to be a running offense, but you got to have the weapons to be that, right? So that's what they're telling these kids. The Taz Williams recruitment's actually trending very highly. I don't like to look at 247's temperature gauge because it's not updated all the time. It's not very reliable. But it's really a battle between us and Texas A&M. So what Taz Williams wants to do is he wants to finish his visits before he makes a decision. But in Texas A&M, so we have another one here where it's a highest bidder type of school, right? So we'll see. This is really going to be a nice test, along with Eliza Melendez's. Is Michigan's NIL competitive enough to land these types of kids who are looking at Miami, looking at Texas A&M? Are we able to pull these guys? So we're going to find out, I'd say in the next few months, how competitive it is. I mean, there is word that there are kids on the team now making more money than they've ever made since NIL has started. The collectives are paying these kids far more money. There's far more opportunities. There's far more going on. They're not getting like these signing bonuses, right? So word is they're still not offering high school recruits upfront money. That's the word. But if you are a freshman, so this is where it's a little gray, and I'll be honest, I don't really like this approach because it's kind of the same thing, but it's not, because it's not promised. But if you are a freshman, like Jaden Davis, if anyone saw Jaden Davis's recent Ford or what was it? I forgot what dealership it was. Whatever dealership it was. Well, he has a new vehicle, and there are freshmen getting opportunities that were not getting opportunities previously. There is more money coming in now than there was previously. So, and they can present that. They can now present that to these high school recruits far better than they were able to prior. So we'll see if it's enough. We'll see if this step is going to get us to the point of being a consistent top 10 recruiting class or not. But in the next few weeks, it should be telling, or next few months, it should be very telling, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was Brighton Ford So
Okay.
our third string or fourth string quarterback has signed an NIL deal with Brighton Ford. So to your point, for recruiting purposes, that's pretty cool. Ferris, yeah.
I would say before ever touching the field, right? So, it just goes to show you that things are working.
Absolutely.
Get on board with Brighton Ford. That's their motto. So I just know that from Sam Webb. The Roman Wilson effect. It's going to be, for those of, I think all of us are interested in the NFL draft. It'll be really interesting to see where Roman Wilson gets picked, and let's root for that to be as high of a round as possible, because I think that's going to kind of show that you pay your dues. And even if you don't have the stats, so to speak, even if it's not super flashy, you may get a really good chance in the NFL, and maybe that creates a pipeline. I think one other note I just want to kind of add is, Jim Harbaugh's motto of transformational instead of transactional. I think we probably need to be both. There is a transactional aspect to this that we're introducing. Hopefully that's what Sharon Moore is actually doing. So, in a way, maybe he's the right person at the right time to say, hey, you know what? We're doing NIL, not the Jim Harbaugh way, but the Sharon Moore way. And there's going to be some quote unquote transactional stuff going on, maybe leading to transformational, keep players for multiple years or get some transfers. Ohio State fans and bloggers and and their YouTube is all about how, Michigan has 30-year-old players, which is not true, but they're getting transferred. They're not developing players. They're getting transfers from other teams. I think actually that's a pretty sound, good strategy. Get a captain on another team to come to your team, and then get that person paid, and have a lot of, have that person have a lot of experience. So really interesting dynamics. I mean, on offense for Michigan, every single position is potentially going to get drafted. Let's see if it all happens. If all 11, well, I mean, there's 6 linemen, so whatever, 11 players are going to get potentially drafted. It'll be really interesting to see where they go, and does that have kind of a halo effect for the next round of players that want to pay their dues.
So speaking of paying dues, this would be a way to do it. Minnesota Dave recommending that if Taz Williams doesn't work out for being a wide receiver, maybe he could be a cornerback. So Minnesota Dave coming by Michigan Wolverines Live.
Yeah, Taz probably wouldn't want to hear that. It's not,
no,
it would not be in the recruiting pitch. But
no. This is coming from a Minnesota Golden Gopher. This is for the record. If Taz is watching this or any of his people, not from me.
Yeah. So I mean, but hey, look, we had success with Sanders still, right? And Amarion Walker did do the transition, but it didn't stick. So I mean, hey, you never know. Down the road, maybe. But let's not sell it now.
Well, come play two-way. Let's do a Charles Woodson.
There we go. Be like Charles Woodson. And then we do have speaking of cornerbacks, there is an Ohio-based cornerback, Dwayne Galloway, who is also has a crystal ball for Michigan, the 2025 class. He's the 5th best prospect in the state of Ohio. And 96th overall, runs a 10.42 in the 100-meter dash. And he's coming to take a visit to see Michigan football. So is it time for Sharon Moore now with these types of people to start getting signatures or start getting hard commits? So we're hearing all this, but let's hear some hard commits.
Yeah, I mean, Dwayne Galloway is a big one. By all accounts, he wants to come here. So we'll see. I know from my understanding, what it is it's a familiarity thing going on. Michigan wants to build the relationship. They want him to come in. They want to get to know him. They want to build the chemistry between the player before just take that's another thing too. Like a lot of people might be like, well, why aren't guys committing? Why isn't this class building? And I am frustrated too, but I do understand this point. And the point is, It's a new coaching staff. This new coaching staff has to get familiar with these prospects. And not only do they want to get familiar, obviously, through phone calls and text messages, but they want to meet them. They want to get to know them. They don't just want these guys to sign. That's why you're seeing not the rush of commits that you're seeing at other schools right now. It's because they want to get these guys on visits, get them familiar, and then start landing these guys. If we're not getting commitments by May, like at a faster rate, then I'm going to start being concerned. Right now, I'm going to stay patient because the coaching staff just wants to get more familiar with these players. Like Dwayne Galloway, I believe we could have him now, but I know they want to meet him. So it's just kind of where we are. And, we can't be mad at it because this is how programs make mistakes. They bring players in and they leave a year later because they're not culture fits.
Yeah, completely agree with that statement. So how do you balance being a culture fit, being a we want to transform you, transformational Michigan from getting somebody in that first year, and then you have to then you have to go through the whole process again in a year. If people leave, it's much better to kind of do it all at once and make sure there's a high probability that they'll stay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one of the things Michigan has going for it. Like the academic side of things makes kids not want to jump, because some kids do realize, like a Quentin Johnson, for example, who's coming back, who was gonna enter into the NFL, draft and all of these things. They realize the academic. That's one thing that we have though. Like some schools just don't have that. So jumping from degree to degree or school to school, it doesn't mean as much. But when you leave Michigan, it has a far greater impact on your long-term future if you are not an NFL player. And even if you are an NFL player, some careers don't last very long. So that's one of many advantages Michigan has. And, there is a balance to still be had, though, with the whole transactional, transformational. And, I think a school like Georgia, who's actually fairly high in academics, I think that's maybe – I don't want to say it's the model because it's extremely hard to keep up with an SEC program. But something like a Notre Dame along with the Georgia, they're able to maintain the transactional and transformational. Mm-hmm. Georgia, even though they have a speeding problem, their players do not jump in the portal at the rate of other schools, and that's kind of what Michigan needs to go for.
Absolutely. And Tony Alford is also cooking. So it seems like one player, Jordan Davison, 7th best running back and 83rd best 2025 recruit, did take a visit recently to hang out with running backs coach Tony Alford and check out Ann Arbor. And it was his first visit since the first win over Ohio State in 2021 out of that 3-win stretch there. So it's been a while since he's been on campus, but Davison said just being around the coaching staff, they showed a lot of hospitality. One of the best relationships that I have with the coach about Alford. And this is what we've been hearing, not just with this recruit, but with some of the others and some 5-stars, that they have a lot of great things to say about Tony Alford. But now what we really want to hear is nice things doesn't always equal, as I've learned in business, nice things being said doesn't always equal signatures and doesn't always equal the hard commit. So do we think that the impressions that Tony Alford is leaving on the recruits, if that could help bring people along, TJ?
Well, I think 100% it's going to bear fruit. I don't know about the Davidson recruitment because, word is Ohio State's kind of trending there. Mm-hmm. But, a guy like Marquise Davis, who was just up here, who a lot of people are high on, that could pay dividends. I do think, the beautiful thing about Alford is he's an elephant hunter. He's a A+ recruiter. I'm not concerned at all about the running back recruiting. Michigan, this is where the scheme benefits us. Offensive linemen, running backs, tight ends, these positions, very beneficial. I think we should have a pretty interesting running back class. I don't know if we're going to go for just one or if we're going to go for 2 yet. I don't know if that's been decided, but yeah, I think we'll see a running back sooner than later in the class with Tony Alford recruiting.
Yeah, one interesting point. Even though they're supposed to be comparable schools, Ohio State and Michigan, Alfred coming to Michigan, I think he thinks of it as an upgrade. We care about running the football more. And I think that's also reflected in running back recruits. I think the difficulties we might have in wide receiver and, what we were talking about earlier, we shouldn't have some of those difficulties on the running back side in terms of recruiting. Let's see what we can do. I mean, my intel on, just kind of watching the Ohio State stuff is that, we didn't want Alfred anyway. It was good that he left. But I think for Michigan, the recruiting piece is something that I think is an upgrade for Michigan, for sure. Yeah, just the recruiting piece alone. And then I think Alfred does think of this as a promotion because, this is 60+% of the offense is running.
Yep.
Versus Ohio State's much closer to 50-50.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. For those people who do not want to hear a eulogy to a dog, now is the time to hit the X button. If you came here just for the Michigan football content and you do not want to hear about a dog, now is the time where you can hit the X button. I'm giving you the warning so people aren't like, what the hell is this? Okay. So, on Sunday morning, the world lost an incredible beacon of light who made everybody who met him made their day a little bit happier. Gizmo was not just my dog, he was my companion in life. Friends come and go, girlfriends came and went. Gizmo was there through 7 years. 7 years since he was rescued. And he was rescued by this incredible organization here, City Dogs Rescue and City Kitties of Washington, D.C. So I'm taking this opportunity. Anybody who would like to consider donating or contributing in any way due to this, I would ask that you donate to this organization, because without them, I never would have met Gizmo. And so he for 7 years, we went through DC together. We went through Florida together, and he met my mom. He met my brother, and they fell in love with him too. I told them that they would, and they definitely did right away. And it's tough. He was suffering with bronchitis the last month, kind of off and on. We had him on all the meds, everything else. But he fought as hard as he could. But he got pneumonia, and he passed. So he waited till I came back from Vegas in one last act of being loyal and incredible. He waited. He wanted to wait, and he gave me one last day, Friday night into Saturday, where we just had a normal day and we just hung out. And I'm glad that he gave me that, and I'm grateful to him for that. He went down. It ended pretty rapidly. Saturday night into Sunday morning, he was coughing a lot. I took him to the hospital. He passed pretty quickly. He spared me from that agonizing decision of what to do, because he made the decision for us. Another thing we're grateful to him for. But some of you may remember him from the shows. Occasionally he would stop by The Voice of College Football and be a guest star on The Voice of College Football, the Ocho, especially because I do more relaxed show for the Ocho. So sometimes he'll come by. He'll want to give his 2 cents on whatever the Big Ten news of the day was. Just an incredible dog. And 7 years with the dog is really something. So I do ask, so City Dogs Rescue, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this incredible organization. They rescue dogs in unfortunate situations, abandonment, they save them from euthanasia, and find homes, find places for these animals that are suitable. So they actually they did 3 references. So I had to give 3 references, and then they checked all the references. They did a home visit. That's right, folks, a home visit to check and make sure that the home was suitable for the dog. Okay, so these people are no joke. I always used to joke it was like getting a mortgage or getting adopting a kid. I mean, that's what it felt like. But the process is there to make sure that they have good homes with loving parents. And so that's what they do, and it's a great thing that they do. So if you can spare a few dollars, and you did want to give back for whatever reason, that's where I would ask that it go, because they do incredible work. So Gizmo, he's not suffering anymore. He's he's no longer in pain. He's no longer coughing. He's no longer dealing with this. And I just am so thankful to him for 7 years.